Welcome back to Community Conversations. On today's program, we're going to be talking about New Hampshire Gives, an initiative through the New Hampshire Center for Nonprofits. With me today, we have CEO of the New Hampshire Center for Nonprofits, Kathleen Reardon. Thanks for taking the time. I know we're in a really busy time of year. You've got a lot of great programs that you run. New Hampshire Gives is certainly a big investment of your time. So thanks for taking the walk over here to join us today.
Oh, I'm happy to be here and always happy to talk about New Hampshire Gives. It's such a great way to celebrate our state's nonprofits.
So it celebrates our state's nonprofits. Tell for the viewers who may not be familiar, I think most people maybe have heard of it, but maybe aren't sure exactly what sort of the mission of it is, the purpose. Give us a little bit more of that.
Sure. So New Hampshire Gives is the state's largest online giving event. It's 24 hours, which will kick off on June 7th at 5 p.m. through June 8th. And it's a place where nonprofits will rally donors around their causes. And so we have more than 500 nonprofits that are participating and we'll be talking about New Hampshire Gives. It's a crowdfunding type of site.
Yep. And I've seen on the website it's very well organized. Remind us what that website is that folks can go to.
People go to nhgives.org. They'll probably also be hearing from nonprofits because one of the things that we do is we help nonprofits develop tools and education and communication strategies to reach out to new donors and to rally people that are already engaged with them. So people sign up to be fundraising champions and to get the word out amongst their own network of followers as well. So hopefully people will be hearing about New Hampshire Gives in many different ways.
And I saw there's really helpful resources. There were a series of YouTube videos with people talking about strategies for the day of, or how in terms of analytics and reporting afterwards, that I had a chance to watch some of them, and I thought they were really helpful. So folks should make sure to check those out as well.
Yeah, absolutely. For nonprofits that are participating, we've done a series of educational programs, starting in February, talking about how to use the New Hampshire Gives branding, to align your cause to that, how to manage communications, some of the back-end strategies about leveraging matches and things like that. So we really try and give people a lot of tools and education and information.
So you mentioned the matches. So I'm familiar because we've done our own New Hampshire Gives campaigns a couple times. But remind our viewers sort of about how some of the different matches. I know there's quite a few different types, but how does that work and what are some of those options?
Right. So there's a whole, there are a couple of different ways that it works. An organization that's participating, they may have their board of directors or donors that are associated with their cause may put up dollars to say, we're going to match this. And people structure it differently. Sometimes they'll say, we're going to match new donors. We're going to match people that increase their gifts. We're going to match one-to-one, just anyone that contributes in this time. And you can go onto the New Hampshire Gives website and look for matches. So you can also look as a donor and say, I want to really leverage my dollars. I can see what kind of matches are available. Then there will be some site-wide programs. We've got this year what's called a bonus pool. And basically what will happen with that is organizations that raise funds throughout the 24 hours, they will get a proportionate amount of that bonus pool just for participating. So really, every dollar counts. Anyone that's giving through New Hampshire Gives, it will help boost the efforts of nonprofits in that pool.
That's great. Now I have to say I love the timing of New Hampshire Gives being in June, early June, because a lot of nonprofits have sort of their holiday season fundraising campaigns, and now we're halfway through the year after tax season too, after tax return season. That this is sort of a good halfway point in the year for people to think about charitable giving, thinking about what they can give if they can. So I think just as a fellow nonprofit kind of community member, I think the timing of it is really good. Did you guys have to play around with the timing at all, or has it always been June?
Yep.
What was the thought process?
Yeah, that's exactly our thought process. So we created New Hampshire Gives, this is the 7th year, so 7 years ago. And we decided on June for a couple of reasons. Giving Tuesday was just taking off at that point, so we didn't want to put it too close to Giving Tuesday. Like you mentioned, a lot of people do their charitable giving in the last quarter, even the last few days of the calendar year, and therefore we wanted to separate it, in addition to it being a nice halfway point of the calendar year. many nonprofits, their fiscal year ends in June. So we thought if we could do it at the beginning of the June, it would sort of boost some of their annual appeals that happen at that time, and it's a little bit beyond some of the big event season. So we've gotten pretty good feedback about the timing of the year. As you mentioned, I think a lot of donors think about charitable giving in December, and we really wanted to raise awareness and visibility for nonprofits at a different time.
Yeah, we're right at the end of the fiscal year. A lot of people have that end of June fiscal year, and any of that fundraising revenue really helps these nonprofits sort of with finalizing revenues and for the fiscal year. So could you tell us a little backstory or any backstory on how New Hampshire Gives came to be? You mentioned this is the 6th year of it, and
Seventh,
I know. So sort of the background of how it came to be, where the idea came from, any of that kind of backstory.
Yeah, so I mean, the New Hampshire Center for Nonprofits, our whole focus is to support, to strengthen, and give voice to New Hampshire's nonprofit sector. One of the main areas of focus is helping boards and management really sort of run. Nonprofits are always looking for how to facilitate the resources that they need to manage their missions. And so we had been seeing across the country different organizations conducting giving days. And so it was something that we saw happen in other states and thought, this would be something really good for us to explore. And we were approached by GiveGab, which is the vendor partner that we use, that they manage the site. They were really very, and they still are, very training oriented. So they helped us to really think about and make that day really strong.
Yeah, that's great. So it's GiveGab, who's kind of that partner who helps make sure on that end the transactions and that sort of thing.
They have the secure platform where all the donations go in. They go directly to the nonprofit that you choose. They manage that processing. They also provide a lot of the tools for some of the educational programs. We've done some, but they have some webinars.
Good. Yeah. And speaking of GiveGab and the website, and I know from someone who has participated giving, it was very easy going down the website. And I was just talking to someone else in the nonprofit sector about sometimes when you provide too many hoops for people to jump through, you can lose potential donors.
Yeah.
If it's like, we take checks only, you go, well, what, that doesn't, or if you go, if you have too many hurdles, you might lose a potential donor. Where what I noticed is that it was very simple to just, here's the organization I'm looking for, I found it, and you're not paying over and over and over again. It's almost like building a shopping cart, if I remember correctly.
Right.
Kind of an all-in-one stop that you can sort of think about, who do I want to support? What organizations? Shows the total. It gives you, I think, some of the matching options and some of those things. So I just thought from a user perspective, it was so simple, and you could potentially lose people if it's not a streamlined, simple process. So I think that is really well executed.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the reasons we like their site, because they do make it really easy. They respond to feedback from giving days as well, and keep adding different enhancements. So the ability to use a shopping cart, in the beginning they didn't have that. You had to re-enter your credit card, and now they have that. So you can support 10 different organizations and just kind of shop in that way. Very responsive. But they also, I think, are those experts too in terms of how you set up your site, and like you said, not making it hard on the donor, because online giving is a little bit different, and oftentimes people are propelled to give online because they see other people in their Facebook feed or their Instagram feed supporting this, and they want to do it, but you need to make it easy. You need to make it something that they don't have to think too much about, or they may move on. So
I've even heard where people they are interested, they click, and it's confusing. Not for New Hampshire Gives, but for other things, and you see someone on Facebook post, and then you click it, and then the link doesn't bring you to the exact spot, and then you go, okay, I give up. I mean, unfortunately, some people are kind of instant gratification, or they're not going to search through a website to find it, or, it has to be pretty simple. So I think you guys have a great platform. It's a really good, easy setup. Now, in the big picture, how much money was raised last year, if you could?
Last year, $3.8 million.
$3.8 million.
Yes.
Now, and that all goes right to local nonprofit organizations. So in the big picture, have you seen the need for revenues for nonprofits, that the need has increased? Has it been driven by the pandemic or through other economic hardships? Have you seen that over the years, just that this is becoming more and more of a main revenue tool for a lot of, especially smaller nonprofits?
Right.
Do you get that?
Yeah, I mean, I think the last 2 years really catapulted New Hampshire Gives because, if you recall, and the timing of this, 2020, people were not having their fundraising events. So many nonprofits really shifted into really using New Hampshire Gives as a main way of raising funds. And, Granite Staters have been responding very, very generously in the last couple of years. I think that this has been a platform where they've been able to see the need. Nonprofits will always have a certain need for charitable contributions to fuel their work, and this is a way that they can do it with pretty low overhead and really, get unrestricted funding that supports them.
The overhead is I believe it's something like a small fee for just creating an account, right? And then if you have marketing expenses, maybe that goes into it, and some of your staff time for creating a campaign. Right. But a lot of fundraising is pretty, can have a high expense to revenue, your break-even point, some events and things like that.
Right, exactly. You're not paying for the events. And events, they have their place too. I mean, there's certainly different ways that people raise funds. And I think that I've lost my train of thought, but I was going to say,
no, but I was going to say
in terms of what people invest and what they get out of it. Sure. I had an organization, a very small nonprofit organization who was community-based, was sending out, their main thing was one annual appeal. The amount of money that they spent on the postage to get it to every mailbox, they spent far less and generated more money, right? So that's one example. But another thing for very small nonprofits, to get on a platform like this that they know is secure, that to manage this sort of volume of online donations, it's kind of a safe way for organizations to get involved in that way, particularly those smaller grassroots organizations.
New Hampshire Gives is New Hampshire's single largest day of giving to the nonprofits that make all of our communities better places to live.
This year, New Hampshire Gives is going to run for 24 straight hours, kicking off at 5 p.m. June 7th, running to 5 p.m. June 8th at nhgives.org.
So join us and thousands of other Granite Staters on June 7th at 5 p.m. and let's show New Hampshire's nonprofits that we've got their back.
Together we can do something big for New Hampshire. Together we can give.
So another thing that we wanted to talk about is about the leaderboard and about how that can help generate some of the excitement of a 24-hour fundraiser. So first off, what is the leaderboard, and is that something viewable from the website? How does that work?
Right, so on New Hampshire Gives, on June 7th, when you go to nhgives.org, it will have a leaderboard which will show sort of how nonprofits, will give you the total that is being raised by all nonprofits participating.
And that number will keep kind of updating in real time.
Updating in real time, which is really cool. And
Yeah.
especially at the beginning, we have some incentives like first donor, and so lots of people are excited to get their donations in right away. And so you'll just see a lot of flurry of activity.
Sure.
Sometimes there's sort of some power hours or things like that. So that will also generate some times as well. And then you'll start to see organizations, and you can look at both the main leaderboard, but also by region. You can look at the regions and see sort of how Concord Community TV is stacking up if you're in the top 20. And organizations use that in addition to just having that excitement of seeing how their fundraising is comparing to others. Sometimes it's a rallying point for their donors. Sometimes people also, I'm as thrilled to see when a nonprofit says, our goal is to raise $5,000, and when they say we've hit that. So they may or may not make that top 20, but you can look down and see more. But it's a great way for people to see the power of their donations, right? Like that you're contributing and those dollars are going up, and it adds to a really exciting
Adds to the
day.
excitement for sure. Yeah. So just as a reminder for folks, this is June 7th and 8th, right?
Correct.
From 5 p.m. to 5 p.m.?
Correct. Yep.
And so as soon as 5 p.m. on June 7th starts, the website, you can then go through with your shopping cart and you can, I call it shopping cart, I don't know if that's the right term, but you can then go through at that point. Now,
you can also look before then And there's a great search feature. So if you don't have a cause that you already know about, but you say really care about the environment, you could look on environment. You could look Concord. You could put some search words
Buzzwords, search words,
as well. And then you can also just sort of look at all of the nonprofits that are participating and just get a sense of them. I always every year discover an organization that I didn't know beforehand.
Yeah.
I might see a name. I'll see somebody that's doing some interesting social media, and I'll check them out. So it's really fun.
So it's an opportunity to set yourselves apart from the rest of the pack, so to
Exactly.
speak.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's, again, having a website that supports such an ambitious project. I think that's just really important, having good searchability and being able to search by region or search by a type of cause. Same thing happened to me. I found nonprofits, maybe not any that I had never heard of before, but a few that I went, oh yeah, I forgot about them, or oh yeah, it was a good reminder sort of especially here, I know it's a statewide project, but here in Concord we have a very strong nonprofit sector.
Yeah. A
lot of statewide nonprofits are here. A lot of what we do at Concord TV is working with fellow nonprofits. So it's just interesting for us for me as a nonprofit leader to see there's so many just in Concord.
Yeah.
And remember, folks, you can support all across. I'm a little biased towards the Concord area because that's the area we serve. But have you seen the program New Hampshire Gives growing in other parts of the state? Is it particularly stronger sort of in the core of the state, like right here in Concord, Manchester? Have you seen it getting stronger in the North Country, Seacoast? Any correlation there?
We've got pretty strong participation throughout
Yeah.
the state. And more and more nonprofits are finding that. I think, I wouldn't say. I mean, certainly there are more nonprofits, that are in the Manchester, this sort of Merrimack
by sheer
Valley.
number of them, right?
Right, and
Yeah.
as you mentioned, some of them have a statewide purpose, right? So there's a sort of a larger volume, but we've seen pretty active campaigns across, and that's part of the reason why we do have those regional boards, because people are interested in what's happening in their community. And I think that is one of the things that makes New Hampshire Gives different than not like a Giving Tuesday, which is a international actually phenomenon. But I mean, this is really all about New Hampshire. So, everyone is contributing and is focused on New Hampshire. One of the other great things that I love about New Hampshire Gives is just what you just did, and I see nonprofits do this all the time, is they say, come out and show your support for your communities. Give to us or give to other organizations that are participating. And it's really about that spirit of community that it engenders.
Yeah, I mean, our nonprofit sector we see just here in Concord, but statewide, all parts that you have nonprofits covering basically every sector of importance of how a community keeps running. You have housing nonprofits, you have ones that provide food for people with food insecurities, you have nonprofit media outlets, you have all across the board that nonprofits are a huge part of what keeps everything running.
Yeah.
And sometimes very unsung, you know, providing housing for people or shelter for people who are homeless. I mean, those are things that just sort of keep happening, but we can't take it for granted. And so initiatives like this really help keep that moving along. Now, to pivot a little bit, off camera, we had been jokingly kind of referencing there's a PSA, like a 30-second spot that we've seen kind of out and about with some familiar faces who have been big supporters of New Hampshire Gives and kind of spokespeople, or I'm not sure what the right term is, but familiar faces that most New Hampshire people would who have watched WMUR or listened to Rock 101 in the morning would be familiar with these people. So
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we have for the last couple of years, Greg Kretschmar from Rock 101, Greg in the Morning Buzz, and Scott Spradling, former news reporter for WMUR, have volunteered generously for us. They are coming back again this year to help with the live stream event that will help kick this off. So in addition to seeing all these great nonprofits on NewHampshireGives.org, on New Hampshire Gives, and I believe on our Facebook, there will be this live stream opportunity where you'll be able to hear directly from other nonprofits. Greg and Scott will we'll be interviewing them, and there'll be some pre-recorded videos as well.
Oh, that's awesome. They've been such enthusiastic supporters
Yeah.
of it, and it's cool to see some famous faces that are kind of backing up the cause. Not that we need it, but a little star power never helps.
It always
Never
helps.
hurts.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Josh from Concord TV isn't quite the star power that that we need to get things really to get to 4 million this year, but we're trying a little bit here.
Yeah.
Well, this has been a great discussion, a great dialogue. I'm excited for New Hampshire Gives. Maybe just remind us one more time, give us just that pitch. We're coming up June 7th and 8th, but give us just the pitch one more time about just when it's happening and how folks can get involved.
So June 7th, 5 p.m., go to nhgives.org and give to a nonprofit, to a cause that you care about.
Okay, well that is great. We've got the website, we've got the where and when. You can do it from home, from your work computer. I'm sure your boss wouldn't
From your
mind.
phone.
From your phone, it's mobile friendly. I'm sure your boss wouldn't mind if you were donating to good causes on company time, but check with your boss first before you do that. But we hope you will consider contributing for New Hampshire Gives. There are so many nonprofits to choose from, and the New Hampshire Center for Nonprofits has been phenomenal, a great resource for nonprofits such as Concord TV across the state. One last thing, I was about to end the show, but there's something just worth mentioning, that the Center for Nonprofits is more than just, New Hampshire Gives is one initiative you're pushing. Again, just remind folks real quick, because we sort of buried the lead there, that there's a lot of incredible work that the New Hampshire Center for Nonprofits does. We've utilized you guys as a resource for information, for workshops. Just give us a couple things that you guys have maybe coming down the
Sure,
pike here.
sure. We provide a lot of educational programs and resources for both nonprofit staff and board leaders. We have an annual summit coming up in the fall. We do a conference in the spring. We have a lot of workshops, resources at nhnonprofits.org.
Okay, great. I don't know how you guys do it. It sounds like a lot that you have going on there. It's the life of nonprofit
That's right.
people, yeah. So again, I'd like to thank Kathleen for being here from the New Hampshire Center for Nonprofits. Again, New Hampshire Gives June 7th and 8th. Please participate. Please support our nonprofit sector, and we hope you'll tune in next time to Community Conversations. Thanks for watching.